And we know now it's quite an interesting place, has a thin atmosphere, has a lot of minerals, even has a little bit of water. Quite a remarkable moon. One of the oldest bodies in the solar system that we know of and have been able to date. Of course, it's older than the Earth. Oh, but people, well, whatever, however.
Ooh. So that's what it was all about.
Yeah. It's pretty scary.
You know what's even more scary?
What?
You can't say on television.
All right. Well, I used to think I was Peter Tork when I was a little kid, and I actually was able to tell him once, about 30 years ago. Let's go to the Mars. This image was in the news, and NASA tried to say that, no, you're looking at an upside-down picture of some stuff oozing out of a crack, or that there was a little dust storm going on next to the trees that you're not supposed to notice. And I'm like, well, that looks like stuff growing upwards, and it doesn't look like they're dripping the same direction. And I think we lost an image. But that is the so-called Mars trees clip. There's a lot of other images of forests and lakes that look like they're water, and lots of stuff clearly is beyond our understanding. And it's going to be a while before I get a straight answer from NASA anyway. So the best thing we can do is speculate ourselves, look at the available images that NASA provides and JPL provides, and draw our own conclusions, because just like when you go to see your doctor, these are not geniuses, although some might be gifted and such. They don't know everything. They know how to diagnose stuff like an auto mechanic. You reverse engineer stuff by looking at the symptoms. But what you need is to take the bull by the horns, if you will, wake up, smell the coffee, and don't eat the donuts. JFK made this speech before they took him out. Let it rip.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, No rumor is printed. No secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. And it means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Wow. Geez, that was some very compelling words from that man on the $50, John F. Kennedy, whom, hearing that today, yeah, it's pretty freaky, but it's also naive. His sentiment is almost a little bit naive. He was so young. Wow. But I did not put that together myself, so I got that from YouTube. Someone did a great job in the images. And we try to avoid politics on the show, but I just thought that was a really great presentation. And virtually like words from the grave. And he's telling us, I told you so. Pretty much, yeah. Before we go to the San Francisco 1906 clip that we show every so often here towards the end of the show, I just want to throw this out there. A lot of discussion about Lyme disease and such, and a lot of people are adverse to so-called conspiracy theories. Whenever there's something that's out of the ordinary, people label it as a conspiracy theory for some reason. But I myself had Lyme disease a few years ago. I was fortunate that it got out of me pretty quickly. Well, it never really gets out of you, but you get the symptoms under control and you shut down the growth of the condition, the critter, whatever the microbe is there. But I just wanted to say, this is never talked about hardly, never on TV. And it's like Plum Island is right off of Lyme, Connecticut. Plum Island, since World War II, is where we keep our poisonous anthrax and other chemicals and biological chemicals of experimentation for war. We got most of that stuff, like we did the rocket scientists, from Nazi Germany, okay? So I'm just going to tell you this, the very tick that carries the condition, I think, was brought over itself with the microbe from Germany. It's not even native to here. That's why it exploded, got out of Plum Island in the 70s and exploded because it, as many times with a non-native species, they go hog wild. And it's just funny that they call it Lyme disease because the first condition was in Lyme, but why don't they just be honest, call it Plum Island disease, okay? But they don't want to draw attention to Plum Island because then you'll find the anthrax that was in the mailboxes that went to the CIA headquarters back 8 years ago. But we don't want to talk about politics, okay? Don't get me going. Just stay on the paranormal, the natural, and the truly meaningful stuff that will help us go beyond all the nonsense of the so-called today's world. All right? So thank you for watching. This is ending the ranting part of the show. We'll be back next week with an improved version. And I'd like to thank Francisco and the rest of my staff here for bringing in the sandwiches and the caviar and making a mess over there with the cheese. And we will see you next week. My name is John Deecken. This is A Show About Everything, number 7. Enjoy.